Osamu Dazai, born June 19, 1909, is a Japanese author who is considered one of the foremost fiction writers of the 20th century Japan. Known most for The Setting Sun and No Longer Human, he is still celebrated in Japan. On June 19, many young fans gather around his grave to pay their respect. Most of his work is unknown elsewhere, with a handful of his work being available in English. On March 4, 1923, Osamu lost his father from lung cancer a month before he attended Aromari High School, later attending Hirosaki University in 1927. He developed an interest in Edo culture, and a year later he published a magazine called Cell Literature with his friends. He also became a staff member of the college newspaper team. His love for writing and reading became something he really enjoyed. He looked up to his idol Ryunosuke Akutagawa, who was a Japanese writer. He is regarded as the father of Japanese short story. In Japan's premier literacy award, the Akutagawa Prize is named after him. In 1927, Osamu was devastated after hearing his idol committed suicide. Osamu stopped writing and started a life of self-destruction. He started to neglect his studies and turned to alcohol and prostitutes. On the night of December 10, 1929, Osamu committed his first suicide attempt but survived. He later graduated the following year. In 1930, Osamu ran away with a geisha and was formally disowned by his family. A few days later, Osamu committed his second suicide attempt, which he wanted to drown off a beach. This attempt was a double suicide with another woman, 19-year-old bar host Chimiko Tanabe. Unfortunately, Chimiko passed away, but Osamu once again avoided death. He was later rescued by a fishing boat. The next few years were productive for Osamu. He used his name Osamu Dazai for the first time in a short story called Train in 1933. In 1935, Osamu knew he would not graduate and failed to obtain a job at a Tokyo newspaper. His book, The Final Years, was a farewell to the world and attempted to commit suicide for the third time. He tried to hang himself March 19, 1935, but failed. He later became addicted to painkillers and was taken to a mental institution, locked in a room, forced to quit. The treatment lasted over a month. While behind his back, Dazai's wife committed adultery with his best friend. When Osamu found out about this, he attempted double suicide with his wife by taking sleeping pills. They both survived, so Osamu divorced her. Osamu remarried to a middle school teacher, and later they had a daughter, Sonoko, whom was born June 1941. During the 1930s, 1940s, Osamu wrote many novels, including The Flowers of a Buffoonery, which was based on its own attempted suicide. The year after he married, he published a book called Run Mellows, a work based on a theme of friendship. Everything seemed to be going well with him and escaping his destructive ways. On July 1947, Osamu's work, The Setting Sun, propelled already popular writer into celebrity. This work was based on the diary of Shizuko Ota. Ota was an admirer of Osamu's work and bore him a child in 1947. At this time, Osamu met Tomi Yamasaki, a war widow. Osamu effectively abandoned his wife and children and moved in with Tomi. At this time, he began writing No Longer Human, which was finished in 1948. The book is a quasi-autobiography because it reads as if it is his own life. He wrote about a character named Oba falling down to self-destruction while finding it difficult or even impossible to change the course of his life. The novel's first sentence is, "Mine has been a life of much shame." He feels as he is no longer human. That same year, in spring 1948, Osamu was working on a new novel called Goodbye. He never finished it. On June 13, 1948, Osamu Dazai and Tomi Yamasaki committed suicide by drowning. Their bodies weren't discovered until June 19th, which coincided with his 39th birthday. Although Osamu Dazai is no longer here, he is still impacting the youth with his works. No Longer Human has a few adaptations, a manga series, a film, and a 4-episode anime series. I recommend you to check out his beautiful, dark work.